In 1914, a crew set out to achieve something that had never been done in the history of the world, an overland crossing of the continent of Antarctica. In command of this expedition was an apex leader, Sir Ernest Shackleton. The boss, as his crew called him, had a unique approach to leadership which ultimately led to one of the most miraculous and inspiring expeditions ever made. In her book, Forged in Crisis, Nancy Kane takes a deep dive into the leadership attributes of Ernest Shackleton and 4 other leaders whose lives and leadership have changed the world. At nearly 500 pages, there's no way we can cover everything presented in the book, but in the time we do have, I wanted to highlight one principle that I felt was particularly powerful. When Shackleton's crew found themselves trapped in the Arctic with no hope of rescue, they succeeded where other expeditions had failed. Scott, Franklin, and others had all been very similar distressing situations, but where these leaders and their crews met with disaster, every member of the Endurance crew returned home alive and stronger for the experience. So how did he do it? How did Shackleton maintain morale, instill hope, and drive his men to accomplish the seemingly impossible? Again, we don't have time to discuss all that he did, but as you read the book, one principle keeps rising to the top. He cared. The boss cared about his crew, and he wasn't afraid or hesitant at all to show it. When their ship was frozen in the pack ice and it became clear that the goal of crossing the continent was no longer an option, the focus of the mission was shifted, and immediately Shackleton's focus shifted as well, to the well-being of his men. He made sure that everyone was occupied with meaningful work. He made sure that he personally was on every work detail rotation. He checked in with every member of the crew every day, which gave him proper perspective on their well-being. If someone in their attitude changed day to day, he knew it and would act immediately to assist and return that crewman to good health and well-being. The crew would draw straws each night to see who would get the nice sleeping bags and who would get stuck with the not-so-nice ones. Somehow, the boss never once drew the nice bags, and miraculously, the crew members who were particularly low always seemed to draw the right straw. All of these things are examples of the deep and profound feelings he had for his crew. He truly cared and worked tirelessly in their behalf, and as a result, the men were optimistic, they were encouraged, they were motivated, and ultimately, every one of them came home alive. As we now face our own unique crisis in the world today, it would do well for us all to remember the incredible leadership displayed by Sir Shackleton. You don't have to have a leadership title to show your team that you care. Look for the little opportunities to reach out, and then reach out. Find ways that you can lift and support. Much of this will be small and even simple things to you, but as with the crew of the Endurance, it will mean the world to those receiving it. In closing, I'd like to share a quick excerpt from the diary of Ord Lees, who is a member of the Endurance crew. Referring to Shackleton, Ord Lees stated, "He is a wonderful man. He takes the minimum of sleep, seldom more than 3 or 4 hours a night, sometimes less. He looks after me himself with all the tender care of a trained nurse, which indeed he seems to me to be far more than merely my leader and master. He attends to me himself, making up the fire and making me a cup of tea during the night if I happen to say I'm thirsty, reading to me and always entertaining me with wonderful conversation, making me forget my pain by joking with me continually just as if I was a spoiled child. What sacrifices would I not make for such a leader as this?"